Hi, guys. Welcome back to the On the Pursuit Podcast. It's another episode. And on this podcast, we connect with entrepreneurs, movers, shakers, people that are on a pursuit towards their goals and their dreams. And on today's episode, I'm really excited because we have Alisha Pennington, and she's done a bunch of amazing things that includes scaling multiple businesses, especially one up to seven figures. So we are going to tap in with her today. She's going to let us know a little bit of her secret sauce and basically what got her on the path, how she became so successful and so focused. And I'm super excited, like I said, to have you on the episode and have you on the show. Alisha, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to share my secrets with your audience.
Yeah, for sure. So before we get started, can you give us a little summary of who you are and how you got started in business and how you got on this path?
Absolutely. So I'm Alisha Pennington, and I'm a certified athletic trainer. For anybody who doesn't know what that is, it is not a personal trainer. It is not a strength coach. I actually have my degrees in healthcare. I am a allied healthcare professional, and my background is in athletic training. So did my undergrad at Florida State University, go Noles, and I did my master's at Cal State Fullerton. Both of my degrees are in athletic training, so science. And when I finished my master's degree at Cal State Fullerton, that was in 2011. And we were still coming out of the Great Recession as a country. And there just wasn't a lot of employment options available and ones that didn't really fit what I wanted. I think that as grads, we come out of school and we have ideas of what work should look like for us. And I am just not someone that does well in compromising on what I want. So instead of accepting something that I knew I wouldn't be happy with, I created my own reality. And that took a lot of ambition and a lot of courage. But essentially, what I did was I became a full time freelancer. And freelancing was not a popular model in my industry. So we think of freelancing like journalists or photographers, people that just kind of pick up work on the go. That is not a popular model in medicine in general, but especially it wasn't very present in sports medicine and athletic training. And so I kind of forged my own path. I created a way for me to work that allowed me to live the life that I wanted and also provided varied work environments that kept me challenged and working with varied populations. And the more that I did that, I kind of came to be known as the girl that you go to if you need work, because I was creating connections with all of the clients that I worked with, but I was only one worker. And so I kind of started pulling my friends and my colleagues in saying, hey, come work this tournament with me, or I'm already booked, go work this other thing. And there came a point in my progression where I had the opportunity to make this a business. And I have no business background. I don't have entrepreneurial parents. I don't, nothing was in my favor in the sense of knowing how to do this. And I was at that crossroads and I decided I want to move forward because I was creating a life that I had always dreamt of. And so saying yes to more of that was greater opportunity for me to create that life. And so that was in 2012. And basically, ever since then, the idea has snowballed. We hit seven figures in 2016. We hit multi seven figures this year, 2021. And I am just living a life that I never thought was possible. I always dreamed about, and that is why I'm just so passionate about helping others say yes to opportunities, giving them permission to explore and to work in ways that resonate with them, even if it feels unconventional or non-traditional in the niche that they're in or the industry that they practice.
So first of all, you gave a lot of gems just in that summary. So hope you guys were paying attention. So a couple of things I kind of want to dial back that I think that you said that are just amazing things, and they definitely need a little bit of highlight. you talked about creating your own reality. So
Yes.
can we go into that a little bit, right? So when someone's considering creating their own reality in a non-traditional way, what did that look like for you? Because like you said, you came out and you didn't want to do things, like you just didn't see like a path that you wanted to travel. You were kind of like just freelancing, right? And that
Right.
wasn't popular. So like at what point between like the freelancing and then you actually deciding like, okay, this is the way you want to go? Was it like a light switch? What actually allowed you to really kind of commit to creating your own path? I mean, creating
I
your own reality.
Yeah, I love this question. And I appreciate that you're taking a moment to dive deeper in it. So I just was having a conversation with a student just this past weekend. And the conversation essentially was around, I'm getting close to graduation. My parents have expectations of me. The profession has expectations of me. My professors have expectations of me. And the things that they want me to do are just not what I want for myself. And so for her, she felt like I've got to find a peg to fit myself into. And so she's essentially, her professors are putting her in touch with other people in the industry that are supposed to help her find that peg. And the problem with that is we, as people who feel that way, we often end up as outsiders. And when we're outsiders, we feel isolated. We feel like we don't belong. And most of the time, we get forced out of the situation. And this is any industry. This is, any type of outside of the box thinker that when they look at what is traditionally available to them, it doesn't resonate, right? And so much of society and specific industries, they tell us the ways that things should be done. And when we have that friction inside of us, kind of that tension of, I see what I'm quote unquote supposed to be doing, but I don't want to do it that way. It's really hard to find a tribe of people that get around you and say, it's okay. You don't have to do it that way. There are alternative ways. That was really lacking for me when I started. I had one key mentor that continued to encourage me to move towards what in my heart and what in my gut felt right. And along the way, I was continually challenged with wanting to conform. And so you ask, like, was there a light switch? Was there an aha moment? The answer is no. I think for me, there was a series of decisions that got me deeper and deeper into being in touch with that feeling of I'm doing what I'm meant to do. There was no single moment where I was like, this is it. I would say that at every challenge point, and by challenge point, I mean both when I'm thinking about starting a business or growing a business, and also a career opportunity presents itself. Both of those are challenges. And there were each time that I call them crossroads, each time one of those presented themselves, I had a decision to make. And this is true for everybody on their journey, right? You're presented different opportunities and you have a decision to make. And that decision is going to take you left or take you right. And it gets you further down the path that you're already on, or it changes the trajectory of where you're going. And for me to have that mentor who continually said, Alisha, stay where you're at. Alisha, stay where you're at. Like don't get distracted by shiny objects. And there were really shiny objects that distracted me that said, like this could be the thing on my resume that really did it for me as a career person. But that's not where I was meant to be. And so going along there, I think that staying true to ourselves, and if we can find a tribe of people, or if we can find even just that single person that continues to encourage you towards what it is that you want it to be. And I in my business coaching, I tell everybody, like, start with your why, and you have to have that, because you're going to get distracted. And this is what I told the gal that I was chatting with is, if you know what you want your life to look like, whether that is traveling or, working with a certain population or being available for family or whatever that is, continue to stay true to that no matter what opportunity comes. And that is how you create the life that you want for yourself.
So again, you just out here just dropping so many gems. We're only 10 minutes in. This is incredible. So one of the things that I really heard you talk about there was like staying true to yourself. So one of the questions that I have for you is like, as someone is working to staying true to themselves, especially when you're building a business, especially when it seems like you're doing something that's non-traditional and everyone else is doing something traditional, getting a job or whatever, or just kind of staying the course. What were some of the things that you were faced with, like real challenges that you were faced with that, like, because you mentioned these crossroads that you kind of met these crossroads and you kind of are bridged to go in the other direction? Because for some people, it may be like imposter syndrome. It might be like self-esteem, self-confidence. It could be finances. It could be like, I really need to do something right now because I need a result right now. And even though I feel like what I'm doing might be the thing, but it may be 6 months out. It could be a year out. I don't even know exactly when it's going to work. So what were some of the things that allowed you to stay true to yourself and stay focused on a path to ultimately building the business that your first business?
Yeah. So I think it's all of those things, right? So if we look at anybody who is starting a business or just not even starting a business, you got something on the side, whatever that hustle is, you're essentially straddling two roads, two lives, right? So you have I'm just going to call it your corporate career, whether you work in corporate or not. And I did. I ended up taking a full-time position in a traditional situation, the 9 to 5 situation, so that financially I could pay for what I was growing in the business, right? So I don't want that to be, I want to be very clear about that I am not a proponent of like bootstrapping, pick yourself up. Like, no, go out there, provide for yourself, do what you need to do to make sure that you're financially safe and stable, and carry this other one on the side as needed. But as you're doing this, you're faced with complications in both realities. So as you're growing the business, as you're starting this side hustle, you've got massive imposter syndrome. It was a roaring reality for me of like, I'm a girl with 2 science degrees. So I was 24 years old. My business was essentially pitching school districts, which means I had to stand in front of old white men that are board members, and I'm pitching, for them to basically purchase sports medicine, so healthcare services from a gal with no business background, a startup. In the very beginning, I really didn't have references. I had professional references, but nobody that I had done business with. And I mean, these contracts that I'm pitching are hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm over here like, I can't even say those numbers without, getting bashful. And so, the lack of confidence, the imposter syndrome of I don't belong, I don't know what I'm saying. I didn't have branding, I didn't have key messaging, I didn't have any of it. But what I did have was passion. This person that you're hearing on this podcast, watching this video, this was the same gal that stood in front of people and told them this was a risk management conversation. This was something that they needed to be looking at. And that was where my confidence showed up. That was where you couldn't talk me down. You could not convince me that you didn't need these services, because I was the living, breathing truth of what that was, right? And ever since I was little, like whether it was an interview, whatever it was, you get me in person, I'm going to close the deal, because that's just who I am. That's my personality. So all of that is happening while you're still punching the clock, while you're still showing up. And there's a lot of friction that lives inside of you with, I don't want to be living this life, but it's a necessary evil in order for me to get to where I want to be, right? And so I'm growing this business. I'm taking meetings while I take sick time, paid time off, whatever it is, so that I can pitch these school districts, these board members. And you have to scale that. For me, I was not willing to leave the income of my regular job until the business could match it. And so you're living this 9 to 5. And for me, that was the means to the end. And I had to continue to look at it in that way. When I was there, I was present, but I wasn't overly present. I wasn't doing more than was asked of me or that was expected of me. I was very focused on having this other thing grow. And when I talk about crossroads, so there was I'll talk about one key opportunity because this was really the one that told me where I should be going. So I was making $10,000 a year working at one of my jobs. And I had an opportunity to interview at a top Division 1 school in the Los Angeles area. I'm not going to name of it, but you guys can figure it out. Top Division 1 school. And it was going to be working with a sports program that was a national championship winning program. So I go on this interview. It was a 2-hour long interview. And the entire time I was there, I was caught up in the glitz and the glamour of this prestigious university. But everything that the people were saying to me was, this is kind of a situation that no one has really been successful in. There's been a lot of turnover in this specific position. They were in the middle of a season. This was like an emergency hire situation. And essentially, I was being considered with less than 1 year of experience at such a prestigious university and program because of how much turnover there had been, because of how negatively they had treated their people. So I get offered the position. They call me and they offer it to me. And my brain was like, oh my gosh, this is everything on paper. This is what Alisha, the athletic trainer who went to school and works in this profession, would die for. These are the opportunities that people spend their entire careers trying to acquire. My brain is telling me, this is it. This is your ticket. This is the golden ticket. You can go anywhere you want after this. And my heart and my gut were saying, run the other direction. Like, this could not be further from what you want for your life. You are going to sell your soul to them. You're never going to be able to attend a holiday again. You're never going to have a life. You're going to be on speed dial for these people. So I went and I sat in my mentor's office. And the thing that she said to me that I will never forget is, Alisha, have you thought about how it could hurt your career if you're not successful in this position? I had never thought about that.
So that's a different way to look at it.
Yes. To me, it was top 25 university, national championship winning program. Like, I get that on my resume. Nobody can close the door on me. Nobody can turn me down. And she says, but what if you can't put it on your resume after being there? What if you're another one that they chew up and spit out? And we all want to think that we're different, but are you actually? Are you actually going to be that person that, could stay there and could change it and could, like, this very much seems like a system problem, not a person problem. And her telling me that was an eye opener for sure. And so I ended up turning down the position. And when I called them to turn it down, the way that they reacted to me told me everything that I needed to know of how I would have been treated in that position. And that was a really pivotal moment for me, because I thought to myself, if I passed on this, then there's nothing else that's going to come along that would surpass this, that would take me deep into the traditional career path. And so when I say like a crossroads, it was, I chose not to turn left there. I stayed on the road that I was on, which was stay in the $10,000 a year position because it allows you the flexibility to grow your business on the side. I ended up being able to work full time for myself within 2 years of starting my business because I made decisions like that. And they don't feel good. I cried a lot. And I had a lot of shame associated with making that decision as the professional career person, the person who had Florida State on her resume to then turn down that prestigious university. It's like, who am I? And like, I didn't feel like I belonged in my profession at that point, because if you don't accept that type of prestigious invitation, then like, where do you go from there? Like, that's never going to show up on your doorstep again. And choosing to lean into being a business owner wasn't something that was well accepted professionally at that time, 2012, 2013. And so I got a lot of pushback from my peers of like, why would you turn that down? Why, this business idea seems fledgling. It seems aspirational. It seems, like something that harebrained, if you will. This other thing felt so concrete, so, tangible that you could put on your resume. And it was me listening to my gut and having my mentor help me through that situation that I really feel like leaned me into the path that I was on.
So now I really want to talk about like how you built your business.
Mhm.
But right before we get into that, like you mentioned your mentor a couple times. So I
Mhm.
want people to really kind of understand and digest that. So if you're watching this, I want you to pay close attention. If you listen to this, also I want you to pay close attention. So Alicia mentioned like the mentor, right? And
Mhm.
being able to be in that decision and then having someone to kind of like bounce that idea and the possibility, what it may look like. And then you had a good mentor because your mentor really painted the picture for you. Like, yeah, you can do this, but what if, she kind of like gave you the other side of it? What if it's really like this? And what if it's not as rosy or as prestigious and glistening, glamoury like you think it might be? Which was amazing because it did, she kind of helped you she guided you to make the best decision for you. So for those that have not yet acquired a mentor or maybe considering one, can you talk to the importance of having mentorships, coaches in your life, something like that, to guide you, whether you're an entrepreneur or even if you're just in a traditional 9 to 5? What is the importance of having mentors, and how impactful was it on your life?
So she's like one of the primary people that I would refer to as a mentor. And I will answer your question, but I also want to mention that recently, like within the last year, I've read Stacey Abrams' book, Lead from the Outside. And she has a chapter in there that speaks in detail about mentors, mentorship, being a mentee. And what I love about what she says in there is that we have different types of mentors. And what I want anybody who's listening or watching to take away from this is that you don't need one single person. You can have multiple people. You can have a peer who is a mentor. You can have a career coach who is a mentor. You can have someone who's not even in your industry at all that is a mentor, someone maybe that mentors you financially, or a completely different space. I think that the idea of mentorship almost like weighs on people because they think they've got to find this golden egg,
Yeah.
that is like a single person that ticks all of their boxes. And I want to demystify this idea of mentorship, because it can even just be an ally that you have in your workplace who looks like you or is further along in the career progression of where you want to be. Mentors can also be seasonal. They can be temporary. You can have several people that you identify as mentors, and they can take every shape and size in your life that makes sense for you. So just want to debunk that really quick. For me, what I encourage people to look for in an initial person that you want to help guide you is someone that shares a similar mentality as you for whatever that aspect of your life is, right? So my mentor at that time, she was not an entrepreneur. She was a seasoned career athletic trainer. And so on the surface, you would think, how could she be someone who mentors me towards what it is that I want when it's not in the same career trajectory as her? What worked well is she had created a life that she wanted. And that was one of her, emboldening statements to everybody who came underneath her is stay true to who you are, listen to your gut, focus on what it is that you want and create that for yourself, whatever it is. And so for her, there wasn't a specific outcome. For her, it was very journey driven. And so having her as someone not only that had, 30 to 40 years of experience and had seen, in that situation, the turnover year over year, every other year, whatever it is, she knew it was going to be a chew me up and spit me out situation. My, doe eyes looking at this, she could bring that knowledge in and say it to me in a way that I needed to hear in that moment. But I think for people that want a mentor or need guidance, and I know, Brendan, you and I both do like career coaching and business coaching. And the thing that I tell people in looking for is find someone who thinks like you, find someone that, they challenge you to go deeper on who you are as a person. Ideally, they're also further along in the process and can help you avoid pitfalls and, make sure that you don't make the same mistakes that they did, or at least regurgitate advice that they got that helps them avoid pitfalls. I think every mentor to some extent can provide that, but really for someone to be able to help you lean into those areas that are true to you, but maybe you're insecure about, or you have that imposter syndrome, or you're questioning, do I go left? Do I stay on this path? That person who can kind of be the bumpers that says, I know that this is what you're working towards, and this shiny object is really distracting, but this is who you are. This is what you want to be.
I actually had that earlier today before our podcast, because like I have a goal for the month specifically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a pretty lofty goal for me. I think it's probably one of my highest monthly financial goals. And I'm taking sales agencies calls because I eventually want to add a sales agency. And the individual who I'm speaking with on this particular call, like I'm familiar with the process. They're going to take you through the whole process. There's going to be the pain points and this and that.
Totally.
Tie you down. And I get all of that, right? I let them do their thing. It's fine. So after the presentation, he's very aggressive in like how he's trying to close the sale. Mm-hmm. And to your point, right? Whether it's a mentor or peer, coach, whomever you're going to work with, you want to make sure that it's aligned. Mm-hmm. So what I'm telling him is, and also to your point, you were talking about distractions, shiny things not being distracted. So I'm telling him, like, I know this is something that I'm going to do. It's not a matter of if I'm going to do it. It's just a matter of like when. My plan is finish out the month as I intended, because it's a goal that I set for myself. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to step into this because I need to get more reps for me. I need to learn more. I want more bumps and bruises, because I want to experience that.
Totally.
And then he's just driving it. And I'm like, if you really think about it, he's leading from a selfish place because he wants the sale.
Right.
He's not listening to me.
Right.
What he's doing is he's just trying to tie me down again when I'm giving him reasons as to why I'm not trying to make it happen at the moment. So I'm just bringing this point up to say, you definitely want to make sure when you potentially considering someone to be a mentor or someone to coach you or whatever the case may be, you definitely want to make sure someone like Alisha said that is aligned. They may be a little further along than you, or maybe they are really further along than you, but they're basically on a path where you want to go. And like like Alisha said, it doesn't necessarily have to be in your industry, but the mindset has to be right, and they have to lead from a selfless place. You know, not a place that's self-serving them. So I just really wanted to mention that because I think it's important. And another thing you also mentioned is grabbing multiple mentors in different areas that you want to grow into and learn into. Like for
Mm-hmm.
me, right now, I really want to learn crypto, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get all my crypto assets. I'm gonna get my
Yep.
books. I'm gonna do my podcast. I'm gonna do my YouTube. I'm gonna do my R&D. But ultimately, if I want to expedite that process, I need to get with a mentor that's an expert in that space. That,
Right.
like you said, that can help me avoid the pitfalls. And
Yeah.
that's really for anyone that wants to learn something. I think it's very interesting. Like once you get out of school, a friend of mine mentioned this the other day. He was like, people seem to like fall into certain things because high school, college, or whatever, it gives you structure.
Mm-hmm.
Even though what you're learning may not necessarily be everything that you need. You may need.
Yes.
We all need things outside of what we're learning.
Right.
But the structure that you're getting is a structure in which you can live your life upon. Because
Right.
you get to school at a certain time, you got this class, you got this class, this class. You're gonna get your time blocks, or
Yep.
you're gonna get your doses of information in the various subjects, so you can ultimately learn these things.
And not only that, but they give you a syllabus at the beginning of the semester that tells you what you have to do in order to be successful. It's
100%.
it's like the entire plan is written for you.
100%. So I
Yep.
so I press upon that because it's like if you're watching and listening to this, the areas in which you really want to grow and succeed. If it's in
Mm-hmm.
a current business that you have, or maybe you just want to learn something different because you're really not that good in this particular area.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like one of the best things you can do is ensure that you're spending at least a minimum amount of time every day on that particular subject,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then ultimately find your way to a coach or expert, but at least get
Yeah.
some running rate. Because what I feel like tends to happen, at least when I speak to people, it's like they feel like they can't do something and they only gave one attempt, or they
Right.
tried for a week, or they tried for
Mm-hmm.
a day. They didn't get enough results, so then they're off that. When it's like
Yeah.
everything that you're good at, you had to give it enough of a sample size for you to get better at that. And then obviously for you to ultimately become proficient in it.
Absolutely. And the people who I feel like bounce in that way, the question I would ask them is like, what is your why? Right?
Mm.
Because if we have a deeper purpose, if we have a deeper meaning that is driving us towards it, right? So let's use your crypto example. If your reason for going into crypto is because you want to retire in 10 years, or because you want to pay off your mom's house, or whatever it is, you have student loan debt that you want to get rid of, your driving force behind paying off student loan, retiring in 10 years, it will give you the tenacity to get through the frustration of learning something new. But if you don't have that why, if it's just I want to be rich, I want to buy J's, I don't know, whatever it is, and I'm not saying that that's not somebody's why. It's just that if you haven't done that inner work first to figure out why am I even pursuing this? Like, what is it that I'm even working towards? Whenever things get hard, because they will get hard, whenever you get distracted, because you will get distracted, you're going to give up on it. And every single time that you give up on that thing, what you put a token in your brain that says, I am not worthy, or I am not enough, or it's not worth pursuing. And then you generate these beliefs about yourself that you're not smart, that you're not worthy, that those things are just too hard. Instead of like what you were just saying, like everything that you want to be good at requires some level of tenacity, some level of perseverance. And it's true across the board, whether you're becoming a parent or wanting to learn crypto or changing your career, whatever it is in life, like starting a new relationship, like whatever it is, like it's going to require some level of application of knowledge from you. And if you're not committed to the reasoning behind why you're doing that, you're always going to give up, because that's just human behavior. It's not like within us as a human, like instinct to keep doing something that we fail at. Like
Yeah.
that our brain does not want us to keep doing that. The reason that we keep going is because there's a greater mission, a greater purpose that is driving us. And anybody who you talk to, seven figure, whatever, someone, these people that go through life changing events, whether it's surviving a fall down a mountain or, like you can find endless examples out there. The reason that they were able to push through is because they had a deeper why.
You're 100% correct. I mean, that's literally what's fueling what I'm currently doing. But I mean, this month I'm hyper focused on this month. But if you really look at, if you scale that back, there's certain things that you're gonna, probably give a little bit more focus to, because small goals end up helping you get to the bigger goals. But as a whole, like you said, you're gonna understand what that why is. You're gonna understand what you're really passionate about. And I think when you're leading from that, especially in a space where you're helping people, it's gonna show. It's gonna shine through, and then you're gonna really be able to really, really make those genuine connections, and then get closer to what you want to do, because you're not really quantifying it by sales or a transaction. You're really doing this because you feel passionate about helping people with X, Y, or Z, or
Yeah.
get them to whatever that destination is, and as a result, that result ends up being your payoff.
Yes. And so I want to go back to what you were saying about the salesperson, because I think this is a perfect through line. So for me as a coach, as I prefer to reference myself as a mentor, because here's
Yes.
my thought process on it is when you have a why, no matter what your why is. So if like Simon Sinek's golden circle, there's like the why in the middle, and there's the what on the outside, and then there's the how. So I tell people, if you have a why, there are an infinite number of how you can do that, right? So Brendan says, I want to retire in 10 years. How do I do that? You can talk to as many different people as there are possible, and they will give you a different way to go to that. A financial planner might tell you one thing, a business owner might tell you something else, a cryptocurrency person might tell you, a real estate investor, like every single person is going to have their slant on how you could retire in 10 years, right? For me, as a mentor, what I preach is, so I can coach you on how to start a business. Running a business is one way that you could execute whatever it is that you want. So I ask people, what do you want? You want to not work in a 9 to 5. You want to be able to travel with your kid because they play competitive soccer. You want to be home with your wife. You want whatever it is. One way that you could accomplish that is by being self-employed, but it could also be a million different other things, right? And so for me as a mentor to someone, what's most important to me, getting to your point, is that I'm selfless. It's not about what I gain out of this. I don't gain anything from you being a business owner, like literally nothing. So you buy my course one time, $600, woo, like there is so much more in this life than selling that one product, right? For me, it is about, are you on the path to living in a way that it feels authentic for you? Yes? Okay. I've got a product that can help you do that. No? Then let's reevaluate. I'm never going to sell you anything if it doesn't align with your why, right?
100%.
And it's the same thing for that salesperson. Like, that poor person is probably working in a position that they're not even happy with, and they're trying to close this deal, right? Like the things that we say are more about us than the people that we're saying it to. And so whether it's a mentor, whether it's a sale, whether it's whatever it is, like it continues to come back to this thought of like, are you getting closer to who you want to be? Are you pursuing that life that you want to live? And whether it's closing a sale or reaching a big milestone, whatever that looks like for you, pursue that and surround yourself with people that help you to pursue that in whatever that looks like, whether it's a mentor, whether it's purchasing a product, whether it's someone that's your sounding board, whatever it is.
I think you're 100% correct. And I thought I said it pretty good, but you said it way better than me. You really nailed down the points, and you said it very elegantly. And I'm happy that you kind of went back to kind of give a little bit more context on it. So now I want to speak a little bit about your multi seven figure business, Advantage Athletic Training. Can you please break that down to how you got to that point? Because you're building this thing, and then at some point, you're going to implement some type of systems and processing,
Mhm.
and then you realize, okay, there's a scalability factor, and just kind of like me, when you look at the numbers, you're like, oh, wait a minute, it's really not that hard for me to get there. It's like
Right.
this amount times this amount of actions is
Mhm.
this is seven figures. So
Totally.
when did that happen for you? Like, when did you approach that level of seriousness, and then kind of like kick it into gear to get a little bit more focused to get to that goal?
Yeah. So I don't know that seven figures or the $1 million mark was something that I believed was possible for me. When I started this, I continually downplayed what its possibility was. I think in my brain, I saw what it could be, but my brain could not wrap itself around that dollar amount. That dollar amount didn't feel like something that was possible for who I was and what my background was in. And right, it's all of that kind of imposter syndrome and that worthiness that I really struggled with. And so the major things here for me that I want people to listen to is that with whatever it is that you're doing, momentum is a key factor. So when things are going well, yes, like keep spinning the wheels, right? So like throw throw more gasoline on that fire when things are going well, right? So for me, what that was, it was a referral network. Like I didn't intentionally set up a strategic, kickback. Who am I going to ask? Like it wasn't anything like that. It was I didn't know how else to tell people what I was doing. So I just would talk to people. I just, the network that I had, I told them what I was doing and asked them if they knew anybody. And this person happened to know that person who knew this person. And I just would ask for an intro. And I didn't know in the moment that like that's what I was doing, that was our like I didn't know that was a strategy. Basically, I just was doing it out of desperation. And I think that a lot of people, when you're at the beginning of business, you just use common sense. Like, how about I go have conversations with people that could be clients or could be customers, right? And so when that was working, I thought, let me keep doing that. I did one round of cold outreach where I just blasted emails. It amounted to nothing. And so I was like, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. But when I got one call, I then asked them, which I realize now that I probably shouldn't have done. But when I was in front of one school district board, I asked them, hey, do you guys happen to know anybody else in the area who could benefit from these services? I didn't, now I probably would have better etiquette around it, but I didn't know any better at that time. And so momentum is a key part of how we build this snowball, right? And so anybody who's listening, who's at like the beginning stages of their business, please do not compare where you're at to where I'm at. Like I am almost 10 years into this. I'm multi seven figure now. My first year, I did $6,000 in business. My second year, I'd have to pull it up, but it was like maybe 25,000. Like it's like things just, they build over time. And I tell everybody, you have to give something full year, a full year of continued commitment before you really decide, is this something that is going to catch on? You do it for 3 months, you do it for 8 months. Believe me, I know it's hard. Like that first year to get people to buy in, to really get brand awareness, to get people to pay attention. It's really hard, but it's because it's new and people have to see the same message over and over and over again to really buy into it. And so giving yourself that time to nurture this, in our minds, a year is an eternity. And when we're working on it, like at 6 o'clock after we've come home from the 9 to 5, or at 8 a.m. before we leave for the 9 to 5, like that year is the longest and the hardest. But you start to gain momentum after that. The flywheel starts spinning. And when that flywheel is gaining momentum, like keep pouring into it. Like each of those people who say yes, ask them for a referral. Each of those small tactics that just give you that one conversion, that one sale, look deeper into that. What more can I do there? What did I say? How did I say it? Was I in person? Did I use a different script? Whatever it was. And just continue to focus on what is working as opposed to what isn't working. Don't get distracted. Don't get frustrated with the 90% that isn't going well. Really stay focused on that 10% that is, because you can then grow that 10% into that 90%. And at a certain point, it does flip. You will have it figured out. That 90% will show up. And, to your point, like, when do you do systems? When do you do processes? When do you get branding? So many people, they get overwhelmed with all the things, right? Like, do I do this? Is it this that isn't working? Is it this? I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot that isn't working. It could be your messaging. It could be your branding. It could be your sales script. Like, there's probably a lot that isn't working. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about what isn't working, and don't try to over predict what you're going to need too far in the future. Focus on right now. Like you're saying, you're trying to hit a big goal for this month. You're not worried about the things that aren't working in your business. You are focused on, how do I reach that goal this month? When you figured that out, like you said, I want to get more reps in. When you get the muscle memory of that jab, 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 right hook, you're going to be able to repeat it, right? Then that is going to become your system. Then you're going to say, boom, I hit this large goal by doing this 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever things in this sequence, in this way. That then becomes your standard operating procedure for that process. But if, as you're getting your lumps, as you're trying to jab, 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 right hook, you're like, okay, let me write down this. Okay, no, just live, just do it. Like, once you got it figured out, then that becomes your system. But I feel like business owners and people that are trying to figure it out, they get so overwhelmed with, I need a logo, I need a website. It's like, I need this, I need this. What you need is just to talk to people straight up. Like, just talk, just have the conversations, do your pitch. What did they resonate with? What did they feel good about? Okay, go back down, write notes on that, do it again and again and again and again, right? Like you said, you got to get your reps in, do the repetition, build the momentum, that every yes that you get, use that, fuel it to your next one, and it will figure itself out. It will figure itself out.
I think you pretty much said it there when you was talking about, like, just make the calls. So, like, I think what you're really saying, I mean, I say this a lot, it's like, just do the things that are really moving the needle.
Yes.
Don't worry about all these other things that could be distractions or just busy work or making you feel like you're actually working. I think, to your point earlier, when you were talking about how the human brain and just our body just want to move away from, like, being uncomfortable and, like, the pain things, and we want to kind of protect ourselves. To your point, we feel it because you had mentioned this a little earlier. Whatever you're feeling on the inside, that friction for whatever you're thinking about or whatever, may be coming your way, or even if it's something that you need to do during the day, but you feel a little friction on that particular item, to me, that's what you should be doing. So that's your body telling you, like, yeah, you definitely should be doing this. These other things is easy. Maybe you shouldn't do those at all. Maybe you should do those whenever you get to them. But this thing, you shouldn't put this off. This is the thing that's going to get you closer to ultimately what you want.
Absolutely.
So that's pretty amazing. So what's the Startup Incubator? I know you got a lot of things cooking. And I want you to talk about a little bit about the products and services that you provide. But you have mentioned you got this new thing that is releasing really shortly, the Startup Incubator. What does that look like?
Love it. Yeah. So the Startup Incubator is one of our signature courses where we walk brand new business owners how to start a business. And it's all of the unsexy stuff of where do you research your domain name? How do you make sure that the business name that you have isn't already trademarked? Where do you start an LLC? Do you need an LLC or a DBA? Do you have a registered agent? What is an EIN? Like, if your head is spinning with me even saying these things, that is why we created this course. When we looked out in the market, what we realized is there's a lot of focus on the pretty things, right? So what you're alluding to, logo design, website, branding. And look, that stuff will have its place in your business development. But if you don't have this infrastructure built on a foundation that is solid, so accounting, legal contracts, establishing the business, making sure that your entity type is set up to protect you as the business owner, even if figuring out what is your risk assessment of, should this be a DBA? Should this be an LLC? Do you need separate entities, corporation, all of that kind of stuff? You need to understand that kind of stuff in order to really protect yourself as you navigate and move into this space. So our signature course, we are providing it with some really awesome upcoming elements. There's going to be a live component to it. Typically, it is a self-paced course that you put yourself through. We are going to be showing up, coaching all of our participants for this cohort through it. And if you're thinking that you want to start a business, you love your business idea, and you want to get it started by the end of the year, this is definitely the place to do it. I have some other surprises that are coming out. So you guys will have to follow me and find out those. Or if you're in a place where I think I have a business idea that I really like, but I'm not sure if it's it. We also have a mini course, Business Viability Benchmark, that walks you through how to do market research, how to conduct a competitive analysis, how to identify where you belong in the market. You were saying, what are pain points? What are solutions? Like that sales script that everybody, kind of knows about, but like, how do you write that for yourself? How do you come upon those things in your own business idea? We also have a mini course for that is available. So we're really here, like I've said in this entire episode, to help people get closer to the things that they want to do with and for their life. If starting a business and having that self-employment is an option that you want to pursue, I would be honored to mentor you through that. And yeah, it really is just, like you've kind of said, an opportunity for us to get people towards wherever it is that they want to be.
So that Startup Incubator, I feel like, where were you at like 20 years ago, 10 years ago? I needed that when I started my first.
Yes,
that's you know what I mean?
It was what I needed. And what all of the coaches that we talked to, like there's not really a course out there that talks about these things because they're so unsexy, right?
Yeah.
And we talk about this, like, it's the not so sexy stuff that gets you to the oh so sexy results, right? We all want to be generating income and have a brand and all these things, but like low key, if you don't have a business bank account, if you don't have your QuickBooks set up, if you don't have an EIN, a registered agent, and all of these things happening in the background, like you're not really doing it, right? So like you're just fronting, and most people figured out way too late that they should have done that stuff, because when you start making money, when you start having transactions coming through, and then you realize I have to pay taxes on this, and you try to find someone to help you to get that done, and they want to charge you an exorbitant amount because they have to go back through everything, or you're realizing, oh, I should have just gotten this done to begin with. Every single person who's gone through this, me and you and everybody that I've talked to, it's like, I wish I would have had this bundled the way it is right now, which is why we put it together.
Yeah, so you're providing a true service to the people with this product. And if you're watching and listening and you're starting a business, or you have a business and maybe you don't have things in order, like Alisha said, definitely follow with her. Definitely get into this incubator. Definitely take advantage of the value and the services that are in this. Plus, she just told you there's going to be a live component. It's not just do it yourself. So you're gonna have some people there to help you to make sure you got everything buttoned up.
Totally.
So I definitely want to just say thank you for spending time with us on a podcast. There's so much value that you gave, so many wonderful experiences that you shared. And I know anyone that's watching this or listen to this, they can definitely go back and grab up a bunch of these gems and utilize them ASAP. So I just want to give you another opportunity just to kind of like let people know who you are, where they can get in contact with you and things like that, because I want to make sure that they get in touch with you.
Thank you. Yeah. So the easiest place to get in touch with me is on Instagram. I am at It's Alisha MP. So ITSALISHA I hang out in the DMs. You can DM me. We have links in bio there. I give away a lot of education and content on my feed there. So would love to connect with anybody. If you've listened, please just DM me. Tell me that you've heard this episode and let me know if you have any questions or, kind of what stood out and resonated with you.
Amazing, amazing. Alisha, thank you again for being on the episode. We're going to have to bring you back. I feel like we need to bring you back in a couple of months and just let more people know what the growth has been like. And I'm pretty sure you're going to have more things dropping between
Totally.
now and then. So it'd be amazing just to recap. But thank
Would
you
love to do that.
Episode. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thanks again for being on, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Brendan.